so excited about this. We're with Lisa Brookman from Wise Women Montreal. Fantastic blog, fantastic site.
Thank you.
We have been gearing up for this all morning. We are talking about how men and women communicate. Lisa, there's so much to get to. One of the fundamentals, I think, is that the reasons men and women speak, right? I feel like men sometimes they'll think before they speak, and women think while they're speaking.
Exactly. When men and women communicate, it's like they're speaking two different languages.
Yes.
And the messages don't get through. And it's exactly what you said. Men are very solution focused and goal oriented. So for men, 1 + 1 = 2. But for women, we're very emotional. We have a lot to say. We think while we speak. We want to get it all out. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, yes.
So, you know.
Let's get my husband on the phone.
Well,
yes.
that's me too. So when you put the two together, someone who's very solution focused and then someone who's very emotional, sometimes it kind of clashes and the messages are not always heard.
Okay, so how do we get around that, right? So say a lot of women will come home from work with a problem. They'll be like, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. And the husband listens and he's trying to offer solutions. But we don't necessarily want the solutions, right?
We just want to be heard sometimes.
Okay.
So I think the most important thing is that couples are coming home and talking about problems and issues at work. So already that's a check and a kind of a step in the right direction. But you know, when we come home and like you said, we're upset and we have something to be said, and then our husband starts to say, you know, again, this plus this equals this, you should feel better, and then we start to kind of get more agitated. I think the most important thing is to kind of tell our spouse, our partner, what we want from them. I just want to be listened to right now, or I just want you to make me feel better, or I just need to be heard.
But that men watching this and listening to this are saying, but that's not so easy, right? That's not easy for men to do.
Well, it doesn't come naturally to them.
Yeah.
But sometimes rather than kind of expecting them to do something that they're not wired to do, asking them to do it makes it a little bit easier. So
is it okay for them to just pretend to listen?
Well, we laughed at that, and I do have a friend who sometimes pretends to listen. Sometimes it's good, you know, pick your battles, but if it's something important and like one of the partners really needs some reassurance or some guidance, pretending to listen sometimes becomes a little bit frustrating. So, you know, trying to kind of understand what your partner is saying on both ends kind of really makes the relationship move forward and allows you to be understood and heard by your partner.
What should women keep in mind when it comes to the way men communicate? Are we not paying enough attention to their needs, their details? What should we keep in mind?
Well, I think men kind of let things kind of roll off their back a little bit more than women.
Do they let things fester as well, or?
They do. I mean, we even see it when we watch children play in the playground. You know, the girls are emotional and the boys, you know, they can get into a little argument with their friend and then they move on and everything's fixed. So, I mean, I guess we are all guilty sometimes of letting things fester, but men, I think, kind of can take a step forward and don't feel as much of a heavy feeling on their shoulders when they have something to say, whereas women, we become sometimes a little bit preoccupied with it. It kind of weighs us down. So we can kind of each learn from each other. If men, you know, maybe took things a little bit more in depth sometimes, and women kind of step back and try to be a little bit more solution focused, we would all be communicating in a much healthier way.
Oh, Lisa, there's going to be a blog post. Alex is standing behind the camera going, I mean, that's what I've been saying. There's going to be a blog post, wisewomenmontreal.com, that's going to be available. We could talk about this for hours. I guess the keys to communicate, it's never going to be forward, but if everyone just gives a little.
Exactly.
We'll meet in the middle, a happy middle.
100%. Meeting in the middle is perfect.
A happy middle, all right. Hopefully you're all meeting in a happy middle, and we'll meet you after the commercial break. Stay tuned, so much more to come. You're watching Breakfast Television on City.